Hey guys, JV here with another Andromeda mod, this time looking at a super fun one that lets you explore the Helios cluster from the skies. As always, if you like what I do here and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. This mod is called Iron Man, and it's made by Wavebend. So if you're interested in this, once again, it's only on the PC. You can only mod this game on the PC version. Link is in the description below for your own use. So there isn't an official description by the author, but the best way to describe this mod is that you can fly around open, explorable areas just like Iron Man, which is definitely fitting because honestly, some of the armor in the game does look like Iron Man. And so this mod offers several different ways to kind of control yourself while you're flying. First off, you steer the camera like you normally would, just with the mouse, but in order to activate this mode, you have to jump up and then press control. So that's kind of how you jump start the flight mode, and then holding shift allows you to enter supersonic, which is like a boost. You gain a lot of speed this way. In order to gain altitude, you hold the space bar, which is helpful if you're trying to go to a specific location, you don't want to fly around chaotically in supersonic, you can just gain altitude that way. And then finally, you can hold the right mouse button to lose speed and altitude. So if you're trying to land somewhere, that's how you do it. The mod author also added a few more functions that make sense with the mod, just make things easier. First off, fatal falls have been disabled. So if you're flying around and for some reason it knocks you out of the mode, which I've had happen to me maybe once, then you're not going to die if you hit the ground, which just makes sense. And then also map boundaries have been disabled. So if you go to that kind of glowing bluish green boundary at the end of the map, you can still fly through it and it won't boot you out. Some additional things to keep in mind: colliding with objects definitely takes you out of flight mode. So if there's something that actually has collision activated, it's not just, you know, something to look at a distance, then it will knock you out of it. And then finally, you can't activate flight mode without a clear path ahead. Just some things to keep in mind. If you are a practical-minded person like I am, you may be wondering, what do you do with this mod? This is not immediately practical like some others you could download. And the answer is you're correct, right? I mean, it's not immediately practical. It's just really fun to play around with and explore these worlds. But you can absolutely use it in the normal course of a playthrough. You move around much quicker than the Nomad when you're going across those huge open areas. So in terms of traversal, you can just, you know, knock into flight mode and you'll be able to go from point A to point B much quicker than usual. I can think of many different random tasks on Eladin, for example, where this is going to be extremely useful, much quicker than even fast traveling from point A to point B. So the catch here with Iron Man is that you can only use this when you're in full armor. You can't use it in any location where you're forced into your casual outfit because it does require a jump to activate. So some places where I really wanted to explore obviously were Aya. That's a big one because just the environment looks really cool. I wanted to fly off of just, you know, the main city area and see what was going on with those volcanoes and that really beautiful vegetation and, you know, kind of going up on top of the map. You can't do that, unfortunately. I really wish you could. And then the Nexus is another place that would be really cool to fly around. Honestly, it'd be cool to like no clip out of the Nexus or even the Tempest, for example, kind of fly around space. I'm sure there's ways to do that, but Iron Man doesn't let you just by itself. The animations and the camera angles are a little bit strange. For some reason, the supersonic animation is like when Ryder is in a very cold area and he can't see very well, he kind of puts his hand up. That's the animation you get when you're in supersonic. So I thought it was a little strange. And also when you're in supersonic, the camera really shakes, and maybe that's for effect because, you know, you're going super fast. You're not just going to be super smooth, but it's kind of hard to see what's going on. So if I, you know, knew what I was doing with mods and whatnot, I would try to alter the FOV to see more or even fly in third person. But I think there's a, you know, distinct reason why you can't do that. It's probably because the animation isn't like a flight animation. Ryder probably looks normal flying through the air. Probably looks strange to everyone else, honestly. So if you do know how to alter the FOV, if there's a mod for that, I would definitely try it out with this mod just to see how it looks. What I did with the majority of my time with this mod is explore. And however you may feel about Andromeda as a game overall, however you feel, you know, where it belongs in the Mass Effect franchise, whether it was worthy, it's an absolutely beautiful game, especially on PC. So this Iron Man mod is so great for exploration. I took this mod to Eos, Codere, Eladin, and Hvar O. So starting with Eos, I flew up to those remnant monoliths, and it's just a perfect, breathtaking view. Flying up to the highest point of each map is just amazing to look at. You really appreciate the size and scale of what is being built here, and I kind of wish that they emphasized more verticality in the exploration. That's really not something we got to see. A lot of the time we kind of dwelled towards the bottoms of these maps, but it is is beautiful near the top. I also found many more interesting things that I had never realized. For example, what maps look like beyond the boundaries, and it's a lot less detailed, right? But they're definitely built out, and so it's interesting to kind of wonder why they decided on the map boundaries that they did. The best example is the top of Eladin, and I'm not just talking, one of the mountains that you can go near. I'm talking about the one that is way off the map boundary, this huge rock formation that you could probably see from space. I climbed to the very top of it, and it even still took me almost 10 minutes to just, using the space bar to gain altitude to get to the top of this thing, and I kind of phased through it. As you can see, I got stuck as well. But looking down at the map, I mean, the lighting effects started to mess up. You're definitely not supposed to be up here, but it gives you that massive sense of scale. It's absolutely insane. It also reminded me of how my mind would run wild while playing through Andromeda, like, wow, can I really go beyond those boundaries? Like, what is way out there? Next, I visited Vold, and I found that the Ket structures on the mountain, where their kind of base of operations, their super evil location is, they're not actually collision objects. They're just there for show. So if you go up there and try to land on them, you'll phase right through them. But you can scale these mountains and look out super far into the world. And once again, just like Eladin, made me think, can I actually go out there? And you can, and there is a boundary where things start to look a little fuzzy and they're not really built out, but it's still super cool. The next destination on the Iron Man travel log is Codere. So I actually found when I was going up on the mountains where the Tempest is parked on Codere Port. This is something I always kind of wondered and realized, when you see the flying in animation or the leaving animation, you're somewhere where you don't see. And I went up to the very top of Codere Port on that mountain that really occupies a lot of the map if you look at it, and I found an unfinished portion at the top that either BioWare decided to scrap, or maybe they just made basic structures so it looked okay from a distance from below. I don't know about you guys, but I think it would have been cool to see some kind of elevator, maybe not, within the mountain, because that doesn't make a lot of sense, but just from the outside that takes you all the way up. We already have an elevator that keeps us, at the Codere market area, the main port where you do a lot of mission and story stuff, and we have the one that takes you down to the slums, but one that takes you up to your Tempest just would have been really cool from an immersive standpoint. Recently on the Mass Effect subreddit, there was a thread about small things people wanted to see from the original trilogy, and one of them was actually from Mass Effect 1, and that's, going into your Tempest and going through the decontamination process. It really brought a sense of immersion, like you were actually in the world having to go through that. While it might have been tedious after a long time, it really lends to, the overall feeling that you're actually going in and out of your ship rather than just walking up to it and holding a button. For whatever reason in Codere Port, we don't even get to do that. We just go up to the elevator and essentially teleport into our Tempest. It's a cutscene or it's skipped, whatever you want to say. I think it would be really cool to take an elevator up to our ship and, actually walk into it like we did in the original Mass Effect. Wrapping up my thoughts on Codere, I thought this was one of the more pretty maps with a lot of verticality where you could go on a lot of these mountains and just kind of stand there and look out into the distance. There's also this nice hazy lighting effect that gives you some really awesome screenshot opportunities, and it really reminded me of Vetra, when you race her up the rock climbing thing. I think that's either part of her loyalty or part of her romance, I can't remember, but it's just a beautiful map. The final place I visited is Hvar O, and you really don't realize, I think you kind of do, but being in the skies makes you realize so much more about how small Hvar O is. It is much, much smaller than any other map. Again, you can't take the Nomad around, so that's something you already realize, but in comparison, it is so much more obvious when you're flying around it. There were also a lot of structures in Hvar O you could kind of see that made you think, maybe I can go up and into that, but you ended up not being able to. There's the one structure that you do climb through the story, the Rokar, the indigenous Angara there, and all of that. Long story short, you can fly up to that specific building, but any other ones seem to knock you out of the mode. So Iron Man really doesn't allow you to explore Hvar O like the other worlds, and unfortunately, I really wanted to explore Hvar O more, but you really can't do it. Another place you could visit that I didn't get footage of is H047C, the Turian Golden World. Obviously, it didn't work out for them, but that's another place you can take Iron Man around and probably get some really good views. Overall, I had a blast playing around with Iron Man. It's definitely worth a few hours of just checking out these maps, seeing what they look like from above, and it's fantastic for screenshots if you're into that kind of thing. That's it for me in this video, so turning over to you guys, which mods do you play around with for fun? Are there specific mods that you use in Mass Effect Andromeda to just kind of, I don't know, kill time or check stuff out like with Iron Man? Let me know what you're playing around with in the comment section below. If you stayed till the end and enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe for more content. Check out my latest videos by clicking the links on screen. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook so you don't miss another video. Sign up with Juniper to receive exclusive discounts on shirts, hoodies, and more at the JV merch store. Click the link for more details. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.